your operating skills as a surgeon can't be tested. And it is expected that by the time you've done your master's degree in surgery or medicine or MDS in dental sciences, and if you're given the exposure and work, by the time you work for 5 years sincerely, it doesn't matter if your knowledge was little plus or minus at the time you finished your master's degree in the particular subject. 5 years if you have worked sincerely, the knowledge becomes at par whether you've been a great student or lesser than a great student. So when I have been interviewing a lot of people for faculty positions for the 6 AIM, so what really matters at the end of the day is in the younger career, of course, when we select people for professor, we ask them different questions, what your students are doing, how much pride do you take in the fact that your students have progressed extremely well, and somebody can come and say, 10 of my PhD students, which I did, are now professors in various distinguished student universities. But when you go for a lecturer or an assistant professor, the best thing you can show off is your publications and your papers, and that gives you an edge over anybody else. Publications, again, require certain amount of standard. I mean, within the publishing world, there are absolutely trash journals, there are non-peer reviewed journals, there are peer reviewed journals, there are what is known as fraudulent journals. Now, there's another word for it. It's not coming to my mind at the moment, but it will soon come to my mind. And then there are journals that have a certain amount of respectability. And then within those respectable peer-reviewed journals, there are journals with a higher impact rate and journals with lower impact rate. So the higher the impact rate your publication is, the greater value it has. But it doesn't mean that if you have published something in a lower impact rate journal and the journal is well archived in the archival system, someday somebody will mine out that article and to become an important person who's written it. So that's a little bit. So the word that I was forgetting is known as predatory journals. What is a predatory journal? A predatory journal is one which masquerades, which on the surface appears a very respectable journal. What the predatory journal is, a lot of people in their quest to publish articles, and there are, they say, around over 100,000 journals that are published worldwide, and equal numbers are predatory journals. And about 10 times or maybe several hundred times of that are the articles that people submit to journals to get those articles published. Say in my own journal, which is the journal of the official organ of the Association of Surgeons of India, which has over 30,000 membership and is read worldwide, I have around 90% rejection rate. I don't know what it is in your journal, in Divya. What is your acceptance and rejection rate?
So it's about 80% rejection rate.
So you see, most, and if you go to a very high impact journal like New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, Annals of Surgery, a lot of my examples would be surgically tilted, so you have to pardon me that if you're a physician or you're a gynecologist or you're a dental surgeon, because I'm a surgeon, so, but it doesn't matter. It is only for illustrative purpose, and I would accept that bias in my talk. Anyway, so these journals, very high impact journals, have 98, 99% rejection rate of the total number of manuscripts they receive. So you have to see that what is the pressure on the editors, what is the difference between a predatory journal and a non-predatory journal. You would often, the moment you submit an article, somebody is probably doing big data analysis, you would suddenly start having certain emails on your email that they are offering to print your articles. So they are kind of have a overlooking or watchdog kind of a major journal submissions. With whatever measure they are doing it, if there is an informer somewhere in the publishing house or they have hacked into the system, but this has been the experience of people when they submit a manuscript, they are inundated with requests from journals. And these are the journals which are predatory journals. And those journals would say, we will have your article published in 10 days, published in 1 month. And here you are, you have an interview planned in 6 months. You're at the end of, you have done your MS in surgery, and you want to become a lecturer, and you think, hi, look at this. Looks like a nice journal. And that journal may be online. They may also be doing it, a hard copy printing, known as a hybrid journal, which is both online and they print hard copy. I think, Divya, the journal that you publish is a hybrid journal, both online and hard copy.
Yes.
Yes. So same is my journal, the journal I edit. So the predatory journal, what they do is, after they've accepted your article and they've nicely done it, they've nicely, you would have not done the left justification and color printing, and they would really set it up nicely because that's at a marginal cost. They already have a shop and experts who can Photoshop it and word process it. They'll send it to you with a bill of $500, $800, 300 euros. And now look at it. Here is an article which was refused by a small time but a ethical legal journal with a low impact factor. Here is a journal which is promising to publish your article in 10 days and which has already tidied it out, which has done the copy editing. And this is a predatory journal. And you are a naive, young MS, MD graduate. You don't understand the difference between an ethical journal and a predatory journal. And you've just got some money saved from your residency period and you pay off 300 euros, which is equivalent to around 30,000 bucks to get one article or manuscript published. And these journals cannot be stopped from applying for indexing. The law doesn't permit that if I charge to publish your article and I publish it within 10-15 days, I cannot be viewed against for the various indexing systems, Scopus and PubMed. So they also are able to show up. And whatever trash you publish, whatever trash those journals may publish, there will be a reader. So there will also be a citation. There will also be a download. And since these journals are mostly open access journal, meaning by that in order to read the full article, one does not, a reader alone, a consumer of that research, does not have to pay anything to download an article. They would at least look at it. So if you download it once and you read it very, just do a very perfunctory reading, you may just casually look at it, it is tantamount to one download. So the predatory journals also get that download benefit. So predatory journals are getting a download benefit. They're getting the benefit of getting cited, indexed, and since the internet belongs to nobody and internet belongs to everybody. So predatory journals have a very high quality internet. They have paid off people to make their internet easily accessible. They have spent money on copy editing and cosmetics of their journal and their publication. So cosmetically, it looks very nice. And when you want to present your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend with your article, the article published in a predatory journal looks much better when you pack it in a polycarbonate transparent sheet and show it to your boyfriend. So that is how the predatory journals thrive. And that's the kind of a frustration we, the editors of the ethical journal, have. And that is now what I'm going to spell. What do you mean by an ethical journal? An ethical journal is always a peer-reviewed journal. What do you mean by a peer review? And that's where the talk starts. See, who would assess you? Whom would you play badminton and who would coach you? Badminton if you want to become a badminton player or a tennis player. So you always have to play against another equally competent tennis player on the other side of the court, and you don't object to it. So similarly, if you have to hire a coach, he has to be an ex-tennis player who can coach you. Somebody who's a football player, somebody who's a doctor cannot coach somebody who's a tennis player. I mean, somebody may give you some psychoanalysis and that. So sometimes peer review process was a suspect. People used to say that people are jealous, and I'm the one who's done this research. I'm the one who's pioneered this research, and the process of peer review would cheat because peer review is a confidential process. They would cheat my research, an idea, they will reject my paper, and 6 months later, they will come out with their own research in that area. And since there are people in the higher higher arenas, they will be able to publish. And we, for people down in the line, it may be my original thought. I wrote it up, but I couldn't do that kind of a makeup to my manuscript. I didn't get a guru to make up my manuscript. I simply submitted a half-baked manuscript, but my idea was great. I was great. My idea was original. I was the first under the blue sky to give this idea, and my idea has been stolen. And that is why peer review process has been, or review process has been a suspect. And theoretically, this is a very, very good argument. But when this was examined by very ethical people, it was seen that there are examples of this kind of cheating or stealing by people. But see, peer review is a process where there is a multiplicity of the peer review. You're not being peer reviewed by one person. We have been in a government job. I've been a director. Divya now is a professor in head. When you select an assistant professor, you constitute a selection committee. You have somebody from the administration. You have somebody from a particular sect of the people who is a representative, but who is also qualified in the content. Somebody is qualified in the style. So on an average, 5 or 6 or at least 3 people sit when they select a faculty or select a doctor, whether it be the Public Service Commission or a university. Similarly, select an article. At times, the peer review process has more than 2, more than 3, more than 4 peer reviews. And those are discrete peer reviews. Now, peer review process, even if it becomes unethical, biased, or the peers get jealous and think, or peer get a tendency to steal the idea, the editor, the chief editor, who will be able to judge it. So the chief editor should have a canny sense, and chief editor has to be very ethical. In the recent past, the chief editors, recently have you heard that 2 articles on hydroxychloroquine, one in New England Journal of Medicine very recently, 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, and in Lancet and New England and Journal of Medicine, both have been withdrawn by their editors. And WHO also withdrew one study. So senior editors who are full-time editors, paid editors, like me and Divya are drawing our salary. I'm drawing my salary, say, from AIIMS Bhopal. Divya is drawing her salary from KGMC, Government of UP. And I'm also the chief editor of the Indian Journal of Surgery. I don't draw 1 rupee salary from the journal or from the publisher, and literally 0 perks, except that I get my internet services paid. So the editors in Lancet and New England Medicine and some big journals are professors in their own right, but they take time out and they become full-time editors, and they're paid by the publishing companies, or they're paid by some mechanism. So they're full-time editors. And most recently, 2 times, the Lancet editor and the chief editor in the New England Journal of Medicine had to resign on these kind of grounds. So you can see how sensitive is the peer review process. And reviewing is how very important. And my topic today is how to review. And I'm making a background to you how to review because there is an ethical dilemma in reviewing. You have to review the article unbiased. You have to review the article irrespective of the fact that there was something lingering in your mind which you thought you will put it on the slate and which you mentioned to somebody and that somebody mentioned to the chief editor or you mentioned that the chief editor thought, look, you are a knowledgeable person in this area and here comes an article to the notice of the chief editor and he recruits you to be a peer review of that article. Now, the jealousy starts playing in your mind, look, this was my idea, someone else has done it, so let me annihilate it, let me demolish it. So that's really your ethical dilemma, and that's really what you have to do, is not to demolish somebody else's research, but really you have to rise up, you have to show your ethical values, and you have to do a sincere peer review. There will always be a scope to do the same research by another angle, or there will always be a scope to excel what somebody else has done. So if you have that same idea which you've been pursuing, which was lingering in your mind, you should take this opportunity as a peer reviewer that, look, this will whip me up, this will give me great enthusiasm because somebody else is also thinking in this area, so let me do it better and let me excel. My idea is better and more thriving idea than what has been put forth here. Now, this slide that you see on the screen, can you all see the slide on the screen? Hello? Can you all, Divya, can you see the slide? Hello?
We can see.
Yes, you can see.
Yes, sir, we can see.
This is a little busy slide. The blues and the pinks. The blues are the processes in the editing office and the publishing office. And the pink are the processes that you have to consider. So what happens, a manuscript usually today, people take professional publishers. There used to be days when I was doing college magazines, when I did a journal in Allahabad University, my first journal, I was an editor, was called Young Biologist, and we used to publish 4 issues as BSc students in a month, and we used to run to the press, and we ourselves as students were the publishers. And those were the days of handsetting. But nowadays, I know a couple of journals of very reputed societies, like the Journal of the Indian Social Science Journal, Indian Journal of Social Science Academy, another journal of biological research, which have in-house editing and in-house publishing, and printing, of course, is outsourced the printing press of your kind. But most of the journals today have hired professional publishers. Today, like Elsevier is a very, very important professional publisher. It is not correct when we are doing an Elsevier. What's the correct pronunciation? Elsevier or Elsevier?
Elsevier.
Elsevier. Okay. Correct me whenever I'm wrong, Divya. You are my best. Correct me anytime. Just raise or just wink at me or pull something, do something. Anyway, so the professional editors, publishers, do a great job. And now this is a revenue earning situation. See, there are 2 types of journals. One is a open access journal and the other is a non-open access journal. Now, what do you mean by it? In open access journal, the full article can be downloaded by anybody if you type the keywords, and if you can cite an article which suits what you're doing by reading at the keywords.
Can we reshare the PPT? Because I can see it, but many are writing that they are not able to see the PPT.
Okay, Asha, can you reshare the PPT? Let me do it. I can continue to speak.
Yes, please.
What was I saying?
ये लो.
क्या कह रहा था?
You may continue, sir. She may set the screen, but you may keep on saying whatever you were talking about.
Okay. So we were talking of downloading and the open access and non-open access situation. In a non-open access situation, when you will type the keywords, you will certainly see the articles. You may be able to get the abstract. You may be able to download an abstract. You may be able to print an abstract. You may be able to, can you see, can everybody see now?
Is it better now? Can see. They can see now. It's visible.
Okay. So, to be short and brief, in open access article, the full length of the article is free downloading and free sharing, free reading. In a non-open access article, if the journal is indexed, one can download and share and print the abstract, but not the full article. Now, must you have the full article for your thesis, or your research, or your MCH, or your MS surgery, or your PhD? You will have to pay, and that payment nowadays varies from something like 10 euro, and euro and dollar, consider them equal, or sterling, to up to 100 euros, depending on what journal, who the publisher is. On an average, it's about 30 euros, and 30 euros comes to around 100 rupees. 30,000. So around 20,000. Many of the viewers may be from India, so I'll put it in rupees. About 20,000 to 30,000 rupees just to download it, and within that journal, you can pay, as an author, you can pay to make your article open access. So you have to pay around 50,000-60,000 rupees, 30 to 60 euros, and your article will become open access in a journal which is not open access. So now look at this. If there's any question, please do ask me now. So there is a predatory journal, there's an ethical journal. Within the ethical journal, there's an online journal. There's a hybrid journal which has a print copy and online copy. There's a journal which is open access. There's a journal which is not open access. There's a hybrid journal. Within that non-open access journal, there can be few articles that can be openly accessed. The journal at times may put some article on open access, like my journal, which I do, is a non-open access journal, but all the COVID articles, policy, the publisher has decided that they will put these as an open access because the whole world is struggling to find the...
There is a question. Many
Yes.
of the journal homepage display that the journal is peer-reviewed. How do we judge or rectify the same?
See, no journal will be indexed if they say it is not peer-reviewed. It is not a college magazine or a college journal of a small-time medical college. See, question is the eminence of the peer review. How eminently it has been peer reviewed. The predatory journals that take 30,000 or 50,000 rupees, because there's a lot of, as I said, you are refusing 80% of the manuscripts. I'm refusing 90% of the manuscripts. New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, sitting in Boston and London, are refusing 99% of the manuscripts. But all these manuscripts get published. There may be 1 million journals in the country, in the world, and 50% are predatory journals. So they would publish it, they would make money, and there's huge money in this business. So, what was the question, Divya? How would you know that this
How
is...
do you know that the journal is, they have mentioned that the journal is peer reviewed.
All
How do we
journals are
judge?
peer reviewed.
Hmm.
How would you know whether the journal is a predatory journal or an ethical journal?
Yes.
The journal that are promising to that they will prevent your manuscript in 20 days, you were sleeping all your life. Next morning, somebody gives you an advertisement. 6 months, 3 months down the line, there is an interview for an assistant professor job in one of the new aims next to your sasural, and you want to join that aim, and now you want 4 publications. What would you do? You would go to a predatory journal. You will take all those manuscripts that were lying in your drawer and you were lazy, you never wrote it up, and you don't have the enough energy, time, or the impetus to actually match them up or look at the data nicely. So you would just retype them and submit it, and here is a journal ready to accept it. So you've just got some dowry money lying with you, and you would pay and get your article published. So that's the kind of thing that happens. And how to judge it, that's the big question, and a good question. You see, it's a common knowledge. It's a common knowledge what is a predatory journal. You look at the editorial board. You look at how eminent people are at the editorial board. You look at the people, are these people who you trust? It's not possible that you know nobody in the area of the editorial board. Then you look at that certain predatory journals are there and concentrated in certain countries. I would not like to name the countries, but in India, like we know, in certain countries, this kind of cybercrime is happening. We know it's like bullion market will be in New York, in Mumbai. We know, I call it Jhumri Talaiya effect. So 80% of the Vivid Bharati song requests come from Jhumri Talaiya. Right? So you can always know that this is one area where the Jhumri Talaiya of the publishing happens. And that should be known to you, and that is how we come to know that this country or this place, there are people sitting and they are manufacturing manuscripts. There are people who would even, if you have an interview 3 months in plan, you can actually walk to a downtown shop and say, look, what do you say? You give your profile, you say, look, I did my master's in nephrology and I have no publication. Do you have few manuscripts in nephrology? He will come tomorrow. Which area of nephrology? He will fish out some 4 or 5 manuscripts in nephrology, and they would really get it printed. So these are kind of offshore scientists, second line scientists who have worked in some laboratory in America in subservient position. They could never become science leaders. They could never write a grant. They also have that kind of a finesse to earn a grant, a reputation for themselves, and they become owners of manuscript writing shops. And that is known as predatory writing. They exist in front of our own medical college in KGMU, where they would manufacture biostatistics for you. They would manufacture survival curves for you. Have I lost you, Divya? Dr. Shaleen?
I'm here, sir. Just having.
I saw moderator Professor Shaleen Chandra is here.
Shaleen?
Yes. Very much.
Yes. So that is how you come to know, by reputation, by looking at the journal, by knowing the journals in your area, that a particular, but it's very difficult nowadays. There is a mix between ethical, semi-ethical, predatory journals to start with for predatory. Later, when they saw that we have gained some market, they become ethical at a later date. It's like converting yourself. When I started with unethical practices. Now I'm very ethical. And reverse is also true. When I started my career, I was very ethical. Now down the line, I've become less ethical. And these both things happen in human life. And we've seventh decade of my existence on this earth, I've witnessed both these phenomena. So let's come to the point. The manuscript arrives in the publisher office, and initial screening is done by the journal editing office. Now, what is this initial screening? Editor-in-chief is very busy. So initial screening is, in general, does it follow for in the scope of the journal. There are a set of instructions to the authors. So the JEO will see that those instructions to the authors are followed, like 30 references or 60 references for a review manuscript, and the manuscript has been classified as a letter to editor or a case report or case series or original article or meta-analysis or editorial, whatever. Then there is the ethical clearance there. Have all the authors sign? Have they done the conflict form, the conflict of interest form? Is the manuscript written and typed in the manner it should be done for that particular journal? Has the manuscript exceeded the number of words? It, say for original article, the restriction may be for 3,000 or 4,000 words. The numbers of tables and figures are on the face value figures very smudged, unclear. So the JEO, according to their own capacity, instructions, would either prima facie reject the manuscript or usually send it back to the person who submitted it for uniformity of the publication criteria as per the instructions to the authors, and that is in the blue. Now come to the third box. The JEO would give it a manuscript number and it would come to my office. My office is the office of the editor-in-chief. So I look at the manuscript, editing it for so many years. I would do what you can say a prima facie rejection, and that's where you can see here. You can see this. So this is what some people would say you should have it peer reviewed, all manuscripts. But believe me, the most exasperating task is getting a manuscript peer reviewed. Because, and if you send a very sada hua manuscript, a manuscript which is absolute trash but has passed the tests of JEO in terms of signatures, allocations, typesetting, number of words, number of references, ethical clearance, yet the content, the method, the analysis, the topic may be stale, the content may be obnoxious, the analysis and methodology may be grossly wrong, and you, as a chief editor, have every right, I would say, to reject it. If there is an objection, it has happened in my 2 years of chief editorship that the person who submitted has come back to me saying, "Sir, you have done a prima facie rejection within an hours of my submission, so you didn't get it, you did not get it peer reviewed, and is it your prerogative?" Yes, it is the prerogative of the editor-in-chief. On the face value, I've had my own articles rejected by Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine. Prima facie, within 48 hours, 2 of my articles have been returned to me by Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine. So it is the prerogative of the editor-in-chief to do a prima facie rejection of the manuscript if they think, and if somebody fights back with you, you can very nicely, decently write what defect did you find with the manuscript, and usually when they don't come back. So some people may not be able to look at what is grossly wrong, and at times I have rejected prima facie a manuscript. Like recently, I had 3 manuscripts with a gallstone that was obturating in a small bowel, which is a rare thing, but the gallstone had a gallstone and a small bowel fistula, and the gallstone leaked out into the small bowel and caused intestinal obstruction. There were 3 simultaneously submitted. I accepted 2 and I rejected 1. Now, the person would definitely get to know that 2 were rejected. 2 were accepted and hence was rejected. Now, the 2 were managed differently, oppositely, so those 2 were accepted. The third one arrived late, was not so well written, so I had my own argument that, look, yours did not come first. I recently published 2 on the same article, on the same topic in my own journal, So please kindly try another journal, doesn't stop you from. And so my journal already has these. And why did I publish two? I published two because they had opposite methods of management, and that is why the audience, the readership deserve to know, and that is why I did it. So every time an editor-in-chief would have an argument why he rejected it, you should have the conviction to reject it, and you will be able to reject it if you are honest and ethical. And then there is no problem. And same is true for reviewer. The reviewer has every right to write to the editor and say, I don't like the manuscript, it looks plagiarized to me, I find it cheating, I've heard this. These are the secret things you can write. Whenever you are given an article to review as a reviewer, you have to give your detailed notes to the author. Now, what notes do you give to the author? Now we're talking to this peer review. Can you see the pointer? Peer review. So this is where is what I'm talking about. Now, considering that my audience is the peer for the paper that I have sent them for peer review process, your onus is, the responsibility is to look for the content, the methodology, and the statistics. You can always tell the editor in the column where you give separate notes to the editor, and there's nothing hidden from the editor. Whatever you write to the author has to be written to the is ethical, provides such details. You think this could be considered in journal ranking negative? So, is there any database that tells what is rejection rate?
No. Rejection rate.
Sorry?
The rejection rate is not mentioned on the journal site.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, Dr. Rahul Pandey. I would like to, it has never occurred to me, so thank you for asking this question. And I will ask my seniors and who are much more in the business of ethical publication, of biomedical publication. That's a very, very important question. Is it the right of the reader to know what is the rejection rate of the journal? It's a very, very valid question. I'm unable to answer it at the moment. Let me ponder over it. Maybe as the talk goes on, I will be able to answer this. Okay. So, so peer review process says that. No, sir. So, see, when you write to the editor, you can say this is no good, and this is, or you can also write that the statistics a bit complicated for me. Could you have the meta-analysis or the statistical part looked by somebody else who's an expert? So all those are the things that you would cite as to the editor. But what should you write to the author of the manuscript? You should write to the author of the manuscript if you're thinking that this manuscript is mendable and you can make this person who submitted the manuscript win. So everything that you write should actually enhance the manuscript if there is a person who sincerely would work hard on it. But the decision that even if you help the author to improve the manuscript, whether the manuscript has received the status, has reached the status to have the nod to be accepted for publication, is that of the editor-in-chief or the chief editor. And there may at times be a conflict between what the peer reviewer says or what the editor says. Half of the manuscripts that I received after peer review exactly opposing views. One is saying reject, the other is saying minor revision, the other is saying major revision. I don't know what your experience, Divya, is.
Same.
You get that kind of peer reviews?
Same.
I get it all the time. So, editorial peer review is formatting, language issues. Some people find the structures to the author would put a language that is not acceptable, syntax may not be good, sentences may start with the figures, with the numerals. Tables may be very garish, or they may put colors in the tables. They may fill in the boxes unnecessarily. So it is a lot of work. So I have also written a set of default note that I write to people over a period that I'm looking. A lot of articles that I receive from Europe, like they have to write 10.2, so they don't use decimal, they use a comma there instead of 10.2. 14.46, they will have 14, comma 46. So now this is a kind of a author instruction. We don't put this in author instruction that use decimal. We think people will use decimal. So although it's there in the universal manuscript that when you will write kilogram and when will you write kg, when will you write mm, or when will you write full word as a millimeter. So when to abbreviate and when not to abbreviate, we expect that somebody who starts writing a manuscript has learned it. His teachers have taught him when to abbreviate. People use local abbreviation. Now recently, for example, I had a paper in India. When we put a drain in the thoracic cavity, we call it ICD, intercostal drainage. And I have 40 years of my practice, I have called it ICD. Here I receive a paper from somewhere in Europe, maybe Turkey, maybe Germany, and they say CTD, chest thoracic drainage. So I corrected it to ICD, and I expanded it in the. There's no such word. So what I'm trying to say is that the local lingo may be different. So you have to go by international abbreviations. Must you insist that the abbreviation and the lingo, like as I said, I call it intercostal drainage and you call it chest, trans-chest drainage, CTD, or chest thoracic drainage, whatever, and you want to insist it's your manuscript that this word should prevail, then you should use the full expanded form. You should put the abbreviation right in the introduction at the end of the manuscript, because that is not a standard manuscript abbreviation. But mm, kg, milliliter, millimole per liter, you don't have to write MILLIMOL, millimolecular. Those are standard abbreviations, and that are available in the abbreviations list. You can point out to the editor that this person's abbreviation is not good. You may suggest that the manuscript for revision, and the revised manuscript again, I may send it back to the reviewer that, look, you suggested, you reviewed it so nicely, you gave a 1-page, 100-line review, let me send it back to you, you would be the best person. Or I can also look at it as an editor-in-chief, and I can straight away start decision, and then I may reject, again revise, accept, or if I revise, somebody again revise 1 or 2 times, then reject and accept. So all this thing happens between the editor and the reviewer. After it has been accepted, it goes for copy editing. Now what is copy editing? Copy editing, whether the journal is single column, double column, all the legends, they will be put together, a table will be made in the uniform style, the superscripts, subscripts, all the references, numbers in the bracket, the running title at the top of the right-hand page, the paginization, whether it's in the right upper corner or in the center, in the page. And the copy editing would also take care of certain English correction, certain syntax correction. And so copy editing is level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 copy editing is simply paginization, uniformity in publication, running titles. Level 2 copy editing is looking at your English, at the language, doing only syntax, language, but not touching the content, because the copy editing is being done by a non-medical or a non-content specialist. He's only supposed to know editing, so they would, at the most, if you have written it, he were going, and it should be he was going, so he may correct, he may change were to was. Beyond that, they would not do a copy editing of a medical terminology. They would be very. Level 3 copy editing is where somebody like us, who has been an editor, is employed by the publishing house and would take the responsibility or would again send it back to the author uh, at the time of the proofreading and mark it to them that, look, I have changed this sentence, look at it, it doesn't change, signs for you. If it doesn't change, that is level 3 copy. Because owners, the ownership of the manuscript is that of the author. I may be the editor in the chief, you are at Elsevier, the publisher of it, but you may have the copyright ownership, but the ownership of the content is that of the author. Copyright ownership is how much do I pay for the downloading, if I download it, because you as an Elsevier have provided a platform. You have spent your money on training people. You've huge platform where thousands and thousands of articles, millions of articles can be retrieved immediately, where thousands of articles can be reviewed, where editors and reviewers can chat, where a lot of programs are available, similar articles are available, plagiarization programs are available, instant PDF is made. You can do copy citing, typesetting, proofreading, auto responses go, default responses go to several reviewers, thank you letters go. You can format a letter, you can make a little change in the letter. So all that is the Elsevier's platform. So they have the copyright on the manuscript, and you can ask them to print it elsewhere. You can purchase your copyright back, but the ownership of the content, if the content is questionable, if the content has changed practice, if the content has harmed or benefited somebody, it's your prerogative as an author. And peer reviewer really has no responsibility. Tomorrow, if you say that this article was found to be a fraudulent research, and you peer reviewed it, somebody peer reviewed it, now this person has been in a court of law who has done the manuscript, who is the owner of the manuscript. So who can be sued? Technically, the publisher cannot be sued. Technically, the editor cannot be sued. Technically, the reviewer cannot be sued. If you have said that I did a trial with X drug and it's happening these days. Drug, I'm not saying, but let's for everybody to understand, HCQ, hydroxychloroquine, is one drug. Now, forget hydroxychloroquine, I'm calling it drug. Now, a politician comes and says it's useful. Another politician comes and says, I make largest number of HCQ and I've given it to 100 countries at the time of the crisis. One health body in Geneva says it's useless. 3 months down the line, they say it's good. One body says it's good for prevention. One body says, I've treated people with it. Now, there's an article in Lancet. Now, is the peer reviewer responsible for all this if the matter goes to? No. The editor, no. The publisher, no. It is the ownership. Because by law, the galley proof, you have one last chance to correct your manuscript. The publisher, after copy editing it, typesetting it, copy editing it, what they call is a production line, they would always send the manuscript as written as proof to the original author, corresponding author. He will then say the final nod, and that is one last time that you can correct your manuscript. After that, it is only corrigendum and letterbazi if you want to withdraw, say, or you have to formally withdraw. And editors can also say withdraw. I have withdrawn 2 manuscripts during my period, which were actually published. They came in public domain, online published, and then for reasons we had to say that, look, we are withdrawing it, and we put it as a blank that this manuscript has been withdrawn. Next slide. Uniform requirements for manuscripts, I will not speak on them. If you type these words, you can click this slide, and if you can type these words, randomized trial, consort is the uniform requirement. Observational studies, strengthening and reporting of observational studies in epidemiology, strong. These are brilliant, worldwide acceptable, standardized tools, systematic review, Prisma or START, diagnostic test, tripod or SRQR, qualitative research, case report, CARE. You type these on internet, the details will come. Quality improvement, Square. Economic evaluation, Cheers, Consolidated Health Economic Evaluation. So, whatever the type of manuscript it is, you may have an observational study, systematic review, meta-analysis, case series, case report, quality QI research, quality improvement research. There is a guideline available. Not all journals will insist on strict guidelines. I wouldn't say I'm not a purist, but I am a lenient editor, and I would let people within these frameworks have little leeway here and there. These are very strict frameworks, but they are excellent guidelines to produce your manuscript. As reviewer, if you are an official reviewer, you enjoy reviewing articles, because if you want to publish, it is incumbent upon you to review. Ethically, if you have been blessed, then you should bless other people. So, it is very sad to see somebody taking a lot of pride that I published this, and you send them 2 papers in their area and they have not reviewed it. They would require 3 or 4 times of coaxing, yet they don't review it. So that's not a very happy situation. You lose your respect in the eyes of the editors. As an editor, there is the process of getting articles reviewed, as I said earlier, is very exasperating. Will I review it? Quick read through, abstract only will suffice, and you're full right to say it's not my area of research, and you can decline review. There always most publications you can decline. Why has it to be sent to me? Content, methodology, status. I'm a journalist. I am known to have opinion. So you may just review the content. If you are a methodology expert, you may review the methodology. Over the years, and the journal editors have a kind of unspoken communication. They know why a particular editor is sending it to him, because the editor respects this guy. He's a great methodologist, and he would find very nifty and clear-cut methodological errors. And you also know your strength. So this kind of dilemma never occurs. There are journalists who could generally look at the manuscript. They would look at it. They would do its value judgment, how important the research question is. Is it really important for my country, for my people, for medical science in general? They would assess the manuscript. Is it important? Has it got an archival value? So somebody has sent an article with the 5,000 breast cancer patients treated over 20 years somewhere in, in Turkey. Now, there was nothing new in that, the distribution of patients. But then this was a large case series of 5,000 patients assiduously kept record, which would archive 5,000 breast cancer patients from one region in Europe of one particular kind of a race. So it was worthwhile. So despite it was not adding to news, so my reviewer, one of the reviewers says the article doesn't add anything to the existing knowledge. Fair enough. If the methodology is correct, if the results are believable, if the results have been nicely, cosmetically, scientifically put and analyzed, then archival value of 5,000 case series analysis is a good archival value. And I, in my own right as a chief editor, accepted that manuscript. And I said, yes, content, methodology, biostatistics, good or average, layout, language, syntax, that is all you have to do. Is it worth spending the money and sit and improve it? You can do that. This is altruistic on the part of the reviewer. The reviewer should be altruistic. Why not? I mean, you have a pedestal higher. You may be a junior person. Person who's written an article may be a professor. You may just be a resident. I mean, I have a lot of best good reviews done by senior residents who've done their theses. And my students have been doing. As a high school student, my grandfather was a school master, would let me examine the high school books. He would also look at it, high school answer books. And I did a great job. My grandfather used to congratulate me. Students do a great job. They've done it. If there has been a university culture to let your PhD student do what someone else's university professor has done, and you take pride in it. And look, my PhD, my postdoc has excelled your professor in your university because you are something of a particular right. So what contribution does the article make to the field of study? Has it got an archival value? I've discussed. Is the manuscript original, part original? Salami slice. What is salami slice? Recently, I had an article where somebody made 2 papers out of a single study. They had some kind of a ultrasound study for, let's say, for example, neck node, axillary nodes. And they produced another paper in the same set of 400 patients for neck nodes. So they did not purposely put the neck node in the evaluation, and they put one paper. This is known as salami slices. So in order to play the number game, you want to increase the number of your publication articles because it looks nice to come and tell your mom and your professor and your people in your peer who have got 4 publications this year or 5 publications this year. You may salami slice your research, and that should become evident. And good reader, good reviewer always knows, this place, this article, they published this data, and this is just a piggyback data. This is a data which was a collaterally collected data, and he's produced another paper out of it. This is what is known as salami slicing a paper. Is overall study design appropriate to, am I concerned about the language? Are revisions needed to be made? Is it possible? So those are all those questions. I've already discussed the editor's perspective. Editors have a different perspective. They try to improve the journal. They try to improve the content. They attract high-end contributors. I mean, see, I say not every production, not every poetry that you write. I used to cite an Indian example. Everything that Tulsidas ji wrote did not become Ramcharitmanas or Vinay Patrika. Tulsidas also wrote a lot of trash. So he didn't go to the best publisher with his trash. I mean, he knew, as an author, I know the value of my publication. So when I have done a good trial, I know this is now a good trial, I would send it to Lancet. I would send it to high-end journal. And I have 10 students. Another student wants it. He's a weaker student. I open up my drawer and I say, go ahead and why don't you publish this? You will also get a publication. And he also writes a paper, and I look at the paper, I know its market value. I would send it to a second rung journal or a third rung journal. So, as an editor, I'm looking for your best song to be sung in my studio, your best article to be sent to me. I would like to attract high-end contributors. I would like to have a mystical, good language, the language which would attract people. Layout, looks, that is the cosmetics. I would like to improve my citation in text of the articles and impact. So I look at this, like there was a case report which was not a rare case. It was not a common case either. But there was a management thing in that. And I thought this would crack it up. All the 3 reviews said, refused, it is nothing new, it's not adding this. What happened? That case report, when 1 month down after it was online published, when I looked at the matrix, had a huge number of downloads. So the journal earned revenue out of it. It was a case report that that kind of intrigued the reader that how this patient was managed. I mean, I had this problem, let's read it. And there was this little management trick that this guy had done. The case wasn't great, the case wasn't original, the case wasn't too common, the case wasn't too rare. Yet that particular case report doesn't has a maximum rate of rejection. But that case report gave me downloads, so my journal revenue increased and my journal citation increased, and that is what I look at it. Is it contributing to science? Does it promote new ideas, thought, innovations? Archive large case series that I said, is it a case report or image? I've already spoken on it. I have to strike a balance between original article techniques, innovation, reviews, meta-analysis, consensus statements, guidelines for treatment, case series, case reports, images in surgery, letters to editors, biographies of teachers and innovators, news and views, masala, announcement, book reviews, editorials, and lead articles. So these are the types of articles that you get as an editor to be published in your journal, and each journal should have the whole masala, the whole recipe of editorial, the lead article, a guideline, original article. It can't be all original article in all cases. There are specialized journals. BMJ is publishing only case report journals. We realize we are thinking in Indian Journal of Surgery that India being a huge country with 130 million people, a huge number of doctor population, rare cases do come up. So why not have a special issue on case report? So there is this BMJ case report journal. I wonder if you can see it in your camera, if you can see this in the camera. So this is a journal just devoted to case reports, and it's a very good quality journal. Extremely high quality editing and copy editing. Prioritize publication, acceptance, rejection. What am I doing? Promote my new authors and new institutions, be global. There is a bias. I mean, I can't say the editors don't have a bias. I mean, if I have an article, should I use those? I don't know. There will be, peer review process is blinded, but the editor-in-chief is not blinded. So would I promote a lesser manuscript from a lesser country? I think I would. Because I developed from a lesser country. India no longer is a country which I think lacks people in skills of epidemiology, biostatistics, English language, availability of scientific tools, availability of Indian mind. So there was a time when I grew up, my teachers, my elder generation said that if it is a publication, however good it may be, sent to some journal, be published in the Western world, in UK, USA, it is bound to be rejected. So now I'm sitting as an editor of an Indian journal in English language. I get articles from rival countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Uzbekistan, Nepal. I get articles from people in Jammu and Kashmir, people in Northeast who may write to me that, look, they even write to me in a covering letter that, look, I'm from a resource deficient Northeast and my article should be prioritized. Now, should you or should you not do it? I don't know. Maybe Professor Shaleen, maybe Professor Divya tell me this. If you have a slightly lesser article from a lesser part of the world, but it is publishable, it is not trash, would you have a bias to publish it? My ethics, I don't know. I have no personal agenda in life. I live with zero complexes in my life. I'm very vocal, and I'm very ready to accept my mistakes and my biases. So I'll let you decide your own thing. We'll not discuss it more. So prioritizing publication, publishing, promoting new authors. Again, should you as an editor promote new authors and new institutions? I know somewhere in east of Bihar at the Chicken Snake, somewhere in a very remote area, a new AIIMS has come. A new guy who was your student, whom you thought was a great student, wasn't selected for AIMS New Delhi, wasn't selected for AIMS Bhopal, has got selected for AIMS in Manirampur, which is there in the Eastern Bihar. And he sends you a manuscript knowing that his guru is now the editor-in-chief. This is okay manuscript, not competing. This is not a race. It is not two people standing on a track, running, and you have a ribbon and a highly objective assessment, and whosoever he may be, the one who touches the ribbon, and there is a stopwatch. That is what I'm not doing. But I am into a decision-making situation. So I leave you with this ethical dilemma. And this situation is now coming to my that here is so promoting a new author and a lesser institution with a manuscript which is borderline, which is just competing. The outright throw, no problem. The outright outstanding, no problem. And 90% of manuscripts are actually fence-sitter manuscripts.
Can I say
So
something?
be global.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do get people asking us to help them out in the article publication, but we cannot accept any publication at the expense of the journal. So it has to be brought to that quality which the rest of the articles are, and then I say, okay, if you want it to be published, send it to me. I'll have to edit it. I take 2-3 hours, edit it, and then send it back to them. Yes, now you may submit it now, and let's see how the reviewers take it up further. That's what I.
Great, Divya. You handhold people. I have handled people. I've written the whole manuscript. Somebody sent a letter. I wrote the whole letter myself. That's a great job. And you have to bring the article to the level of the way. Well said. I mean, why not? But that's what I say as a fence-sitter artist. But if it is trash, I throw it away. But then here is a person who's taking. Then another perspective of the editor is to be global. So you have to see that I get an article from Lithuania, Latvia. I have a bias that here is an article from Belarusia. I'm getting so many from China. I'm getting so many from Turkey. Why not one article? It's a reasonably good. So I would try and jack it up to bring it to the level of standard. So you have to be global. So there are editorial innovations that are happening every day in my life, directions, distinction. So these are the editorial perspectives to show you once again, because I'm now concluding the reviewer's perspective. Will I review? Will I from a specific line? Has it been sent to me? Content methodology. Why has it been sent to me? What is my own strength? How much time do I have left? One time you may read it, other time you may just do a cursory review. Both are okay. You're very busy these days. You're not in the best of the mood. Yet you feel that you should review. You do the cursory review. Good enough. The editors are intelligent enough to understand. If you give 2 lines of review and you have been a good reviewer, so once in a while, you are absolutely okay for a reviewer to give a shorter review. You don't have to sit down and do a page-by-page review or line-by-line review. A general review would help, but a faster review would help the editor to give him a review. Is the manuscript original? So these are the reviewer's perspectives.
So there is a question.
This is what Divya was saying. That she would, yes.
There is a question. When there is so much,
Say, what is the question?
when there is so much of pressure to publish, else there is a fear of perishing, and we have predatory journals available to satiate our needs, how do we break this vicious cycle? We as faculty are judged more on publications rather than our knowledge and skill in interviews. How do you face this situation?
Yeah. Yes, I think you get it from three biographies of Dharmendra, Devan, and they all went from Punjab or somewhere in Pakistan to Mumbai. They all started with sleeping on the roadside. Somebody started as a ward boy in some publisher, in some big producer's office. Somebody started selling chana jor garam, and somebody started with wanted to become an actor, ended up being a singer. Somebody wanted to be a singer, became an actor. So when you start off, you may be Arjuna to have a Dronacharya, you may be an Eklavya who has himself talented, but you don't get a talented teacher. So all these things will happen. Start with a predatory journal, no harm. You have at least written. You get into the habit of writing. The predatory journal would at least dress up your writing. You would know how to typeset the manuscript. What is left justification? You would know how to use copy editing. You would, by reading that, will give you pride, and you will have your inner conscience will tell you, look, this is not the best of the journal. I did not sing with Lataji. I sang with somebody second-rate singer, who was a Qawwali singer, but I have the voice. I have my inner strength. One day I will sing duet with Lataji. So go ahead. It's up to you to choose your journal. So the publish or perish, you can on day one start with a Pakka Rag, and your first paper may be in the Lancet. You may not have played leagues. You may not have played Ranji Trophy, and there are people who played who were straight in the Olympics, and you get in the school team, then in the state team, and then boys team, and then that team. See, India is a country, everything, I call it a Gavaskar and Irfan Pathan story. See, Gavaskar was a known player. Rohan Gavaskar's five-star cricket player's son, who had a locker in Wankhede Stadium, of which even I can't buy a membership. It will cost me 1 crore rupees. He always used a willow bat, and he had gloves, and he was pedigreed to play cricket. Irfan Pathan maybe played somewhere in the lanes in Dharavi with a wicket made on a wall. He played Test cricket for 20 years. Rohan Gavaskar played for 1 year. So that is the beauty of life. See, you can graduate, I call it Kamal and Kichad effect. I mean, you can graduate, you can be born in a very humble household. I mean, we know of a mayor of Mumbai whose father was a sweeper. And we know of people who were pedigreed, who excelled. I mean, we know 3 generations of professors, 4 generations, 6 generations of professors. So you may start with a predatory journal. There's no harm. There's no stigma to it. But you should know the value. I mean, there's no stigma to go and sing in your village Qawwali or your choir singer. There's no stigma to, as long as you're not singing something obscenity, there's no stigma to go and sing you want to go to big screen, start with a small screen. Yes, that's the answer. So, researchers excel at being creative, scientifically credible, but they aren't necessarily good communicators and writers. Paul Herbert, former editor-in-chief of the Canadian Medical Association, said, so as an editor, you should understand and trust your author, and you should try and help him in good communication and writing skills. The rest, I think I should finish now. I'm tired, and I think I've said everything. Both part of the talk I think I've covered in whatever I've said. It's been purely impromptu on me, but if you want to know the IMRAD format, it is introduction, method, result. See, all the formats are given here. Now, this is the individual dissection of these. The rest of my talk is just an individual dissection. So what I'll do is I'll not speak. I'll run these slides very slowly. You can click it. I will let Divya allow you to share these slides. I am not kind of imposing any copyright on these slides. And I will share it with Professor Shalin Chandra, with the organizers. You're most welcome to distribute it to viewers and those who ask it. And if you still permit me, in 5 minutes, I'll run them slow. I want to stop talking, if that's okay with the organizers.
Sure, sir. There is a question, sir, from Dr. Gadipati Sridhar.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the difference between bibliographic analysis and scoping review? Is the review process same or different?
I don't know what is scoping review. A bibliographic analysis is what we call as a systematic review.
Sir.
And what we call as a meta-analysis. And meta-analysis is a totally different, that is when you combine the data, you get the raw data from other people, and it's a mathematical process. The sample size is small and you want to put bigger power to this study and your probability factor improves, meta-analysis. A systematic review has to be done according to certain style. That I believe is a bibliographic analysis. The other word that you used is what kind of?
Scoping review.
Scooping reference.
Scoping review.
I don't know.
Scoping review.
Scoping review. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Do you know, Divya, what is scoping review?
You have to unmute yourself. Divya, unmute yourself.
Divya, you have to unmute yourself.
Scoping is just
Divya has to unmute.
Yeah. Scoping is just like an exploratory sort of review, the normal review, what has been the trend over the years as people write it, just to explore the whatever areas it has been used.
Varsha
Getting the scope of the
from Wikipedia, I'll read it. Scoping review is defined as a type of research synthesis that aims to map the literature on a particular topic or research area, provided an opportunity to identify key concepts, gaps in the research type. So scoping review is to synthesize the research, to get the gap, to do a gap analysis, understand the key concepts. To scope the review to your research. That's scoping review. To find out the gap, and because you're going to do a research on that particular gap that exists in the knowledge, and then you finalize the objectives and scope of the research. That's scoping review. So it's an entity in itself. I pardon that somebody has asked this. Naturally, must be a person who has been in this trade. So thank you very much to the person who asked this question. It has given me I will certainly read it what is scoping review, but that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sridhar.
So there is one more question. Every journal now, even good permit index journals, charge money for publishing. How correct it is and how ethical it is for the scientific community?
Don't know. Our journal doesn't charge. I think many good journals that you can take names. I don't think Lancet group of journals, BMJ group of journals, NEJM, JIMA, Association journals, Journal of the Association of Physicians of India. My wife is a pediatrician, the Pediatric Journal Association journal, they don't charge. So many journals charge, that's true. Every journal charges, that's untrue. Majority journals charge, that may be true. Every journal charges, takes money to publish, untrue, incorrect.
So if there are
Yes, sir.
if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you, sir, for excellent talk, and I thank all the attendees also. Thank you. I think we can bring the meeting to a finish.
Thank you.
Feedback for today, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Richa will just share the feedback forms on the chat, right?
We'll share the this so that you can go to the minor details of each section, and then we may discuss it.
आते हैं तो हमसे पूछते हैं तो ठीक है
Richa, are you sharing?
अभी हमने स्टाफ को बुलाया
Otherwise, we can put it in the WhatsApp group as well.
WhatsApp कर गया उन्हें बुलाया और हम बहुत deliberately आना चाहते थे और अंदर हम आपको एक पहले बता दें
Richa?
अब इनको तो काम दे दिया से टीवी
Okay. So you have your chat box.
पीछे बता दें
So you have the feedback form for day 4. Richa, can we see the feedback for day 3? Are we ready with that? The feedback results of day 3.
Actually, the thing which is put on the chat box is feedback for day 3.
Okay. Richa, can we have you?
That is actually the feedback form for day 3.
Yeah.
No, feedback form for day 3 was already circulated.
No, that same thing has come again.
Okay. Richa?
जी मैम
क्या status है? Are we doing it today?
मैम
Feedback form for day 4
not getting your voice.
for circulation.
Okay ma'am, I'll create and I'll post.
Okay, and the result of feedback day 3?
I don't have the lab.
Okay.
I'll mail it to you.
Okay, so we'll discuss the feedback of day 3 and day 4 tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I will
Tomorrow,
close the meeting.
If you all have done your review, we can discuss it tomorrow. So we have one talk tomorrow, and then we'll be discussing your review comments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.